Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to another meeting of the Glendale Coin Club. It's January 2023. Last year was a great year for the club, and hopefully we can make this year just as good, if not better. So thank you guys all for being here at the meeting. Thanks to all those watching at home on YouTube as well. I guess before we get any further in the meeting, we should probably start out with the Pledge of Allegiance. We'll put a flag down for those watching at home. And Ben, you want to lead us in the pledge?
Yes. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thanks everybody. All right. Don, you want to go ahead and pull a ticket for an attendance prize for those that got raffle tickets? I don't think we passed out any separate ticket.
We did
this time. Ed usually does that, and he's not here today. So it'll be an early prize, yeah, early bird prize. So this will be based on your red tickets if you got red tickets, and it's for a California quarter on a card signed by the designer of the quarter.
Red ticket 856687. 856687. 07? No, it's 856687.
It's not me.
It's the other Mike.
Mike, congratulations. Congratulations. All right. And Don is also selling 50/50 raffle tickets. Last call on those. So at the end of the announcements, we'll go ahead and pick a winner of those. Announcements for tonight. Membership dues are due. It's the first of the meeting of the year. Our normal membership dues are $8 per person for the year, $12 for a family. If you're new to the club, first meeting, or you're still getting acquainted, you don't have to pay the dues. Wait till you're ready to commit, and you know, we have the meeting open to the public, so you guys are always welcome here. What the dues do, they help us fund refreshments and some of the meeting prizes and the cost of paying for this program to stream on the meeting to those watching at home. Other announcements, we had the last meeting of Verdugo Hills Coin Club last month. That club has now dissolved, and we were set up to do the show with them in March and in October. So I guess now the show is the Glendale Coin Club's deal now. But we still have a lot of members from Verdugo Hills that are still going to help out. Brian just let me know that he's still going to do the youth auction at the March show, which will be great. That's a good event, and so we'll be sure to advertise that. We're going to get all the boar saps out to the dealers for both shows together, just so we can only do it once for the year instead of for both, and so everybody has all the dates. Those are all going to be out to everybody by the end of the month. I'm not too worried about that because we had a full show just in October, so unless somebody doesn't want to do the shows anymore, then we shouldn't have any tables even available. So it should be pretty easy. And I know the last show we had a waiting list of 4 people anyway, so if we do have anybody that can't do the shows, we should have people ready to step in. So that's that. We'll go ahead and get the postcards printed up, so we'll have those for the Long Beach show. And on the postcard, I guess we'll have dates for both shows, so we only have to print that one time, and it'll be good for all year. Other announcements, the American Numismatic Association has a membership special going on right now through the end of this month. So right there, $5 for a 1-year gold membership. It's usually a $28 charge. So if you want to become a member of our National Coin Club, American Numismatic Association, now's the time to do it. That gives you the magazine sent to your email digitally. If you want the if you want the magazine mailed to you, like the print magazine, they have a deal where you can do it for the first year for $20 for a membership. That's their platinum membership. Usually it's $46 for the year. So if you're not currently a member of the ANA, I recommend that you do it. And we got a deal for that right now. See me tonight sometime if you want help getting hooked up with that. They also are doing their National Money Show, the American Numismatic Association, in March 2nd through the 4th in Phoenix. So if you're planning on going to that show and you're not yet an ANA member, sign up to be an ANA member, and then that gets you into the show for free, and you can pre-register and have your badge and everything sent to you at home before you even get to the show. So it saves you a little time and effort there. Anybody else have any other announcements? Any announcements?
Yeah, you said it was January 23rd. Today's February.
It said January 23rd.
Today is Friday the 15th.
Today's Friday the 13th.
Don't remind.
What did I say about January?
I thought you said today was January the 23rd.
No, I was probably talking about something different, but that's a. I was probably talking about one of the show dates, and if I said January 23rd, then I definitely misspoke. Sorry about that. Upcoming shows, we got the Long Beach Coin Show coming up in just a couple of weeks, February 2nd through the 4th. I know that Richard has his show. There's some blue flyers on the front table up there in Van Nuys, February 12th. I just mentioned the show in Phoenix. If anybody's going out to Phoenix for the ANA's National Money Show, that's going to be March 2nd through the 4th. There's also some orange flyers up on the front table for the Buena Park Coin Show, March 11th and 12th. We mentioned our Glendale show with the youth auction, the 26th of March. If you know any kids under 18 that might even have a little bit of interest in coins, make sure you bring them to that show, and we can they get some like fake money, and they can bid on a bunch of coins, and it's all free, and we had a lot of donations, and Brian does a really good job running that. So thanks, Brian, for that. Scott, when's your show coming up in Arcadia?
Next weekend.
Next weekend already?
21st, 22nd.
21st and 22nd in Arcadia. And do you have flyers or anything for people on that? Or do you have any flyers or anything if anybody wants to? Perfect.
On YouTube.
Perfect. So that'll be in Arcadia. Anybody else have any other announcements or anything? Not everybody all at once, no? Any new guests to the meeting that want to say hello and introduce yourself? You don't have to, but we always like to. You don't have to, but go ahead.
Yeah, my name is Bill Ferry of RY. I have been here before, but I attend.
Okay. We're glad to have you here, Bill. What kind of stuff do you like to collect?
Well, I have almost a completely new headset. I have almost a complete mental self. It's built in 1909S, but not in 1909S VVP.
Okay.
I've got Liberty Head nickels.
So small cents, nickels. That's great.
Yeah, I have 1830 fish $half.
Okay.
And type stuff was 1794 $half.
All right. Well, great. Well, thank you. And if you guys, if anybody new to the meetings, or that doesn't come to all the meetings, if you ever have any questions, just ask me or Don, or we have
I
to help.
also have a large collection of fractional currency.
Fractional currency. Well, I'm sure Greg will be interested in maybe taking a peek after the presentation. So very good. Anyone else? Don, no other announcements or anything? No?
Just talking chat.
Okay, great. Other than that, you ready for a 50-50 drawing? Blue tickets? Okay. Again, thanks for anybody that participates in our 50-50 raffle. Half the money goes to the winner, and half the money gets kept by the club to help cover expenses and keep having some cool prizes and stuff at our raffles. Hi, Ron. How you doing?
All right, the winner will get $35.
The winner will be getting $35. So check your blue tickets, and
somebody put red tickets in there.
somebody put red tickets in there. That's not
That's
good.
right, they're going in the right places.
And you picked one of the red tickets?
No.
Okay, you just saw it.
That one feels like a winner. 114909.
909 are the last three numbers.
Blue ticket 909.
Not here? No?
Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah, that's
you.
All right, congratulations.
If you'd like it, sure. All right, it's been donated
Wow,
right back.
that's
fantastic.
very generous. Thank you. Did not have to do that, but you did. So thank you. All right. So tonight, well, let's do a treasurer's report too. We haven't done one of those in a little bit. So the treasurer's report, we have current inventory of coins and other stuff, I guess, mostly coins, but we've got some paper money, but $2,381.50 worth. Checking account has $7,050.85. We have a show account for some reason that has $1,068.31. Cash of $250. Deposits at shows of $200. Total assets $10,950.66. All right. Tonight we have an excellent program for you. You ready for it, Greg?
Yeah.
We got Mr. Gregg Bercovitz speaking to us tonight on fractional currency and postage money. Is that correct?
Yes. It's one and the same, sort of.
So Greg's spoken to our club many times before and was one of the main guys involved in helping out and speaking a lot at the Paper Money Club when that was meeting. And we'd always pass out a monthly flyer showing up the U.S. currency and
Yes.
a world note and everything. And so he's probably forgotten more about paper money than most of us know. And
That happens every morning when I wake up.
so we're glad to have him here. And let me go ahead and get your presentation up here. So,
Okay.
so the people at home will be able to see what we're doing. I'm going to try to remember how to do this. Yeah, just a second ago. I'm going to do that, and then I can click here, and then that mouse is yours. So thank you, Greg.
Okay. Well, good evening, folks. We're going to talk about fractional postage currency. It is it's a very interesting group of notes, and I'm going to give you about 5 or 10 minutes of background, and then we'll go through all of the pictures. Necessity is the mother of invention. With the outbreak of the Civil War, hoarding specie payment gold and silver coinage began in both the North and South. By late 1861, almost all gold coins had disappeared, and there was fear that they would be replaced by paper money of questionable value. By the time the demand notes of 1861 had met with an unwelcome reception, even though they were redeemable in gold. Later in the spring of 1862, the issuance of the North's legal tender notes only helped to confirm the public's suspicion of this new money. These legal tender notes had no backing whatsoever other than the good faith and credit of the federal government, which was anything but certain at this point due to the Civil War. By 1862, no coins of any kind were to be seen. It was nearly impossible to conduct day-to-day street commerce, i.e. like buying a newspaper, purchasing a cigar at the general store. On July 9, 1862, Horace Greeley, owner of the New York Tribune, suggested taking ordinary postage stamps that could be used as change. They could be conveniently pasted onto small pieces of paper and the top folded over. The idea caught on, but by mostly putting loose postage stamps into small envelopes imprinted with a value such as 25 cents. At this point, the Treasury Department began experimenting with similar concepts. It should be noted that there's always been an underlying problem that had never been addressed regarding small sums of money, i.e. change or amounts less than $1. It had always been a problem sending via the mails small amounts of money from one part of the country to the other. Mail theft was a problem, as well as unfamiliarity with non-local bank notes, just to mention a few. Alternatives. At about the same time in 1862, an ingenious, inventive man named John Galt, now living in New York, began engaged in the development of encaged postage stamps. The exact time of Galt's production is not known, but generally
somewhere around the time of this patent, which is number 1682, granted in August of 1862. And certainly lasted through the spring of 1863 when postage currency notes came into circulation. Cent-sized bronze tokens also eased the shortage slightly, but more effective were the countless printed fractional script notes issued by many merchants and others. These private script notes were eventually outlawed in the future by acts of Congress. Stamps become money. On July 14, 1862, the Secretary of the Treasury, Salmon P. Chase, sent a report to Congress suggesting government stamps be made official as legal tender for small transactions. In response to Chase's request, the Act of July 17, 1862 provided for the use of postage stamps for monetary transactions, including the authority that by August 1, stamps would be exchangeable for the new legal tender notes, greenbacks, at all Treasury offices. They were also receivable for government obligations in amounts of under $5, but they were not given the official legal tender status despite Chase's request. First issue currency. It's not working.
It's not.
Oh, it's working for you.
Yeah, try it.
Oh,
Just gotta keep the mouse in the screen somewhere. I don't know. Want me to help you with it, or try to keep it where you're at? Maybe that'll.
yeah, go down to the first, no, the other one. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. There we go. All right, keep it. All right.
Sorry.
The first issue, postage currency, which we're looking at here, those are the top four are the first issue, and the bottom two are the second issues. The first issue Treasury, the Treasury Department interpreted the Act of July 1862 as a license to create a new postage stamp money of the same designs as stamps, but more convenient. Hence, the first issue bears the title of postage currency, while the second and all future issues were titled fractional currency. These first issues, printed by the National Banknote Company, were illustrated with images of current postage stamps and were printed on perforated sheets like stamps so that users could easily tear them off. Soon after, sheets were made without perforations so that scissors or shears were required to hand cut the notes. The top left one you'll see, thank you, is pictured with a 5-cent postage stamp. The 10-cent one is a 10-cent postage stamp. When we go down to the 25 cent, that is 5 of the 5-cent stamps. And the 10 is the
50.
The 50 is 5 10-cent stamps. Okay. The obligations printed on the back, receivable and payment. The obligations printed on the back were receivable and payment of all dues to the United States less than $5. Due to the redemption error clause, making the first issue notes notes payable for custom and duties and all of the debts, these notes were also ordered and sold at premium, just like demand notes that their coinage counterparts. With the slow printing of the notes by the private banknote companies and the erratic release of the Treasury, they were doomed to interrupt circulation and did not prove to be the remedy for small change shortages as they hoped. Second issue, which are the bottom two, the second issue were now called accidentally revenue currency. Spencer M. Clark, chief of the newly formed National Currency Bureau, proposed to Secretary Chase that all first issue of postal currency not be replaced by a new class of notes called revenue currency, but also printed by the Treasury Department. On October 10, 1862, Chase approved Clark's design of revenue currency, later called fractional currency. The Act of March 3, 1863, provided for the new small denomination series designated fractional currency. They were receivable in payments for all dues to the United States except customs, thereby correcting the oversight used on the first postal currency. Distribution of fractional currency, second issues, in the same denominations as postal currency began in 1863. Finally, by December 1863, the monetary situation had eased somewhat. Millions of bronze tokens, more Indian head cents, and countless privately issued script notes permitted commerce to proceed on a nearly normal basis. Production of fractional currency continued to supply demand. By the late 1864, many, if not most, of the hoarded 1-cent coins were back in circulation. Not so for the silver and gold coins, which remained hoarded for many years thereafter. The situation accelerated the demand for fractional currency to take the place of half dimes, quarters, and dollars. Give me the next one. Okay, now we're looking at.
Go back to full screen there.
Yeah, there we go. We're looking at plate 2, which will be third issues. The upper left is the 5-cent. There's 2 5-cent issues. The second left is a 20. Can you go back to full screen?
Yep.
Yeah, the second one is 25-cent third issue, 50-cent third issue, and another 50-cent third issue. Now you can go back to the big one if you want.
Yeah,
So they can
make it
see
easy to see.
Yeah. So go ahead and you can see that there is the third issues. There's 2 50-cent ones. Now let's go to the fourth issue. The fourth issue happens to be probably my favorite of all the fractional currencies. There's they have a 10-cent, a 15-cent, 25-cent, and 3 50-cent issues. You want to go to the large side?
Yeah.
All right, let's start here. The first one on the left has Lady Liberty, the bust of Lady Liberty. The one on the right is Columbia. Go down a little. And next we have the 25-cent issue with Washington, the 50-cent issue with Lincoln, and I would venture to say that the 50-cent Lincoln issue of all of the fractional currencies is probably the most popular, and aside from scarcity, it's probably one of the more expensive ones. The next two are also 50-cent issues, and I believe on the right is the Secretary of Defense under Lincoln, which I'll get to later, which has a complete description. Now let's go to the next plate. The fifth issue fractional currencies were issued February 26, 1874 to 1876. There's a 10, 25, and 50 cent. The fifth issue of fractional currency spanned just 2 years and came to an end with the Act of April 17, 1876, provided for the resumption of payment at par of silver coins. Actual redemption began on a large scale on April 20th. This was the twilight era of a class of paper money, and many undistributed pieces were sold by banks to dealers as collecting of such bills had become popular. Now, it's interesting. There we go. One of the things I've really liked about this is the portraits they put on these notes. I'll get to who it is, but the guy on the left looks like he's having a really bad day or has got indigestion or something. It looks like he's just having a hard time. And below him, there's a nickname for that note. It's called the Bob Hope note. People believe he looks like Bob Hope, you know? Now, there are various types, when collecting, there are various types of ways to collect it. Give me the next page. The first thing is keep going. It's not there. Originally, when we opened up, you saw what was called a currency shield.
Right there.
There it is, which is a display of all the fractional currency notes. These were produced by the Treasury Department and were distributed to banks, so banks could readily identify the fractional notes. They are highly collectible today. They are scarce, and there are 2 or 3 different versions of this particular shield, 3 versions based upon the color backgrounds of the shield itself. They are, I forgot to bring the copy they are basically about the size, about 3 times, they're about almost 2 feet tall by about a foot wide. And like I said, they were distributed mainly to banks for identification purposes. There are also what are called essays. An essay is a printed impression of the artist's design or a proposed plate that is made for study or review. Sometimes essays are adopted and the design becomes an issue. So these are basically test prints that were printed to be distributed to the Treasury Department for people to check designs to see if they can be approved. They are scarce, but there are some of them available in the collected universe. There are also proofs. Strictly speaking, a proof is an impression of the face or back that is carefully printed to show the motif and details of the note for review purpose before such notes are actually made. Specimens, and I'm not talking about Italian astronauts. Specimen notes are an imprint made of one side or another for observation, souvenir, or numismatic purposes, even though the design may be in use or circulating notes. Let's go to the next. Okay, now it's hard to. Can you
Make it bigger?
Yeah. Okay, let's start. This will give you, show you the backs of the postal currency, and it'll tell you who's on the note. The first one is the 5. It'll show you on the left. It'll tell you it's the first issue. It's Thomas Jefferson, and it'll show you also the back and all the various iterations that came in it. Let's go to the here's the 10-cent that we saw. You'll notice that the back also, and it has Washington. On the third one is the 25-cent first issue, Thomas Jefferson. Now we have still the first issue, and this is the 50-cent note. You see the back, and it has George Washington. Now, the second issue has Washington, but it has, you'll see it has that gold ring or whatever you want to call it printed on the face of it. And that was there for an anti-counterfeit system. Back at that time, the photographs were used to copy notes. And when you copy these notes with that circle around it, the circle comes out black. So it was an anti-counterfeiting device early on, even at that time. And it's Washington. Let's go. Now we have the 10 cent, and you can see the 10 cent back, which has a nice green back. Let's go to the next one. Once again, the anti-counterfeiting device. This is the second issue. And one of the interesting things about the fractional notes are the backs are in all different colors. You'll notice we've seen purple, green, etc. There's green. We have purple. This is George Washington. Now here is another second issue, the back with a 50 cent Washington on the front, and it is red toned back. Now we're into the third issue, and you'll notice now that when they get into the third issue, the front designs and the back designs are becoming more detailed in design. There's much more to them. The 5 cent third issue 5 cent has Washington on the front.
3 cents.
3 cents, excuse me. And they no longer have postage stamps on it. Okay, they're just using a completely new design. The next issue is the 5 cent, and that's Spencer Clark, who was the head of the Treasury Department, I believe, if I can remember correctly. Next, we have Washington on the third issue with a red back. We're still in the third issue, and this is William Fessenden, and he was in the Treasury Department, and it's got a green back. You can see. Oh, I should also mention that the size and shape of the fractional currencies change. They're different sizes, different shapes, and different sizes and shapes. And it isn't necessarily strictly related to what issue or what design. Here we have third issue, 50 cent, and this is Francis Spinner, and he's the Secretary of the Treasury. Now we're still 50 cent, third issue, and this is Francis Spinner again. So we have two 50 cents. Here's another third issue 50 cent with allegorical figure of justice holding scales. Like I said, the fourth series, one of my favorite series, Lady Liberty, and is that a green back, black, blue back?
That's like a greenish blue.
Yeah.
And red red seal, right?
Yeah. Go ahead. Now we have the 15 cent, and this is the bust of Columbia, and you can see they started on these issues making the Treasury seal very prominent. Another fourth issue, 25 cent. We have Washington. Once again, you can see the Treasury seal becomes prominent. The fourth, once again, the fourth issue, the 50 cent, the Lincoln, my favorite of all, and once again, probably one of the most highly sought after issues. Still the fourth issue, that's right, it was Edwin Stanton, who was the Secretary of War under Lincoln, who was, I believe, assassinated or attempted to be assassinated when Lincoln was assassinated. 50 cent. Here we have Samuel Dexter, which I believe was a senator, a prominent senator at the time. I don't know why they put him on there. And you'll notice here we now have some sort of green treasury seal. And here, the 5th issue, William Meredith, which I believe was another prominent senator, etc. And Robert Walker, the 5th. Let's go to the next one. And here we have the issue that was nicknamed Bob Hope, the Bob Hope issue, because people believe he looked like Bob Hope. And I sat there when I looked at him. You know, after a couple of beers, he does begin to look like Bob Hope. Now, let's bring that, let's stop right there. Okay, now, due to this, I said we saw Fessenden and a couple other Treasury guys on the fractional currencies. So, as this says, no portrait or likeness of any living person. What we're looking at is that Sherman Grant 15-cent 3rd issue exists only in unissued specimens. 3 people were depicted on fractional currency during their lifetime. Francis Spinner, Treasury of the United States, William P. Fessenden, Senator and Secretary of the Treasury, and Spencer M. Clark, Superintendent of the National Currency Bureau. Both Spinner and Clark decided to have their portraits depicted on the currency, which created a controversy and uproar. Republican Representative Martin Thayer of Pennsylvania was an outspoken critic, suggesting that the Treasury's privilege of portrait selection for currency had been abused. On April 7, 1866, led by Thayer, Congress enacted legislation specifically stating, which still is enacted today, that no portrait or likeness of any living person hereafter engraved shall be placed upon any of the bonds, specimens, note, fractional or postage currency of the United States. On the date of the passage, the plates for the 15-cent note depicting William Tecumseh Sherman and Ulysses S. Grant had not been completed and thus fell under the scope of the new law. The Sherman Grant notes now exist only as specimens, and they're highly sought after. Let's go to the next one. Now, an interesting sidebar to collecting fractional currency, as I mentioned earlier, people were starting to put postage stamps inside envelopes to make it easier to do day-to-day business. Now, here is an example of some of the envelopes that they use. And as soon as they started doing this, very wise shop owners, store owners, etc., started printing advertisements on these envelopes. Okay? And as an aside to postal currency, these envelopes are also highly collectible and very, very scarce. And prices on these envelopes far exceed almost any price you'll find for fractional currency. Some of these envelopes have gone off for $2,000 a piece. You can see that they came in different sizes, and earlier on the top ones were kind of simple, and then pretty soon they started advertising. Let's go up a little. No, you know, but yeah. And here you can see we have advertising starting showing up, telling you there's 25 cents in there. There's the bottom one, which is another note. And here we have one, and I made a note on it that this was Kagan, and one of Kagan's auctions, and this was a couple of years ago. I can't remember exactly when, but it went off for $2,250. Go to the next one. And this is another one. This one, for some reason, was not quite as much, and it only went off for $2,000. So, as an aside, these envelopes are also very scarce, very highly collected for the sophisticated fractional currency collector.
Greg?
Yes,
Got a question from chat.
sure.
They're just wondering, let's see, are most, if not all, the specimen fractional currency uniface?
Yes, or to my knowledge, yes.
Hopefully that answered your question.
Anybody got questions?
So, I don't understand, haven't they been making like millions and millions of pennies at the time course all the way up to here?
Yes.
And then where do those go? Because I mean, they're still making millions of pennies, right?
Oh,
Penny
yeah.
millions.
Where I can't answer where they all went, but the reason they started printing fractional currency was at the beginning of the Civil War. Both North and South started to hoard coins, any pennies, nickels. It didn't matter if they were coppers, if they were pennies, nickels, whatever. Everybody was hoarding them, and literally there would the economy almost went to a barter economy for a while because you couldn't go into the general store and buy something for 25 cents or 10 cents because there was, first of all, there was no coins, and if people brought in money, they had to make change. There was no way to make change, and it was so all the coins, both North and South, were literally hoarded, and it was almost impossible to do business. That's why they started using postage stamps to do business.
When you talk about the South Party, the Confederates only made a few coins, very few coins.
I would have to defer to a coin person. I'm a paper guy.
Like a handful of coins were minted by the Confederates, like nothing that was widely circulated, just
They
like
did not-
less than only a couple dozen coins total, I think.
They did not issue fractional currency in the South.
Not that I know.
New Orleans used cash billing sort of ran out of silver, but they didn't change the base. They
Yeah,
still used
the Confederates minted a lot of U.S. coins with what was left on hand.
Yeah.
They did it also at Dahlonega and gold.
I was wondering if the U.S. presidents were appearing on these postage stamps, dead presidents, and coins that was still liberty, allegorical figures. But if 50 years later they started with Lincoln on the cent, was this like where they realized this was a good idea to put dead presidents on coins? Was it popular?
I can't answer to their rationale for it. But yes, it was the first time that they started putting the likenesses on the postage stamps, and maybe from there it went on.
Along the same lines, right? George Washington did not want President Living that to appear on coin. He didn't want to coin, and that was because that would make the U.S. appear similar to King.
Right.
And so then, yeah, right, it changed, 1862? So it was the first $1 bill that had president.
Right.
And 1909 for coin. And then you don't know why they changed it in the legislature.
No.
Well,
Greg,
the only reference I know with regards to who goes on what was, as I said in here, that that Thayer got upset that they were putting likenesses on the paper currency, and I'm assuming that because they were printing paper money, which was maybe easier than doing coins, and it was a better format for pictures, if you will. That's what brought the discussion to a head.
Greg, you mentioned that there were only 3 living people on the fractional currency. Was the one with Lincoln, did that come out after he was assassinated? Or was
Well, he got
living at the time?
assassinated in,
1865.
yeah,
I was wondering if he was living at the time when they put him on there.
I don't believe he was.
Okay.
Let me go back here for a second.
It took a few months for Kennedy.
Yeah, they put him on there right away. It was 4th issue, right? I could probably find it here too, right?
Here we go. The 3 people depicted on fractional currency during their lifetime was Spinner, the treasurer, Fessenden, a senator and secretary of the treasury, and Clark. So by that time, Lincoln had been assassinated.
Thank you.
Bill,
The same rule applies to coins, but there's been exceptions to that. There's one commemorative $50, and also the Unis Schreiber Special Olympic dollar was an exception too. So, there's exceptions there.
And now some of the first spouse gold coins and medals of living first ladies.
well, the act that I'm referring to says no likenesses on bond, security, notes, fractional, or postal currency. So it has nothing to do with coins. The act that I mentioned here.
But there was a similar rule passed for coins that probably around the same time, wasn't it? I think so.
I'm not a coin guy.
Was it after? Okay. Any other questions?
Bill?
In regards to your fractional currency, that should show up there. It's very nice to find something like that, but many of them are in the Treasury Department in the basement, and they got rain came in, and many of them were damaged by rain. It's hard to find nice clean them.
Yeah, the last section that shows all of the notes and the sizes and the issues and stuff, I was thrilled to find because it puts in one place all of the issues, all of the sizes, etc. Anything else? All right. Thank you all for putting up with me.
All right, thank you, Greg. Thank you. All right. Thanks again, Greg, for doing that. Really appreciate it, especially when we got a member of the club coming in and speaking to us all. I mean, we've had a lot of great speakers in the last couple of years showing up from all over the country talking to us, but it's great to have you here with us again and appreciate that. And I think now we can get into show and tell. First up on the list here, we got Steve Sussman. Again, when you guys come up and do show and tell, this here is our microphone. So if you talk anywhere close to that, they should be able to hear you, and we can show what you brought under the camera there.
Okay. Here you go. Maybe you could take that for me. So,
What's that?
1862 first dollar bill with somebody on it, but I don't know. Anyway. Okay. This is a 1727 Mexico Asayer D. So during the reign of Philip V of Spain, this is a half real. It's called a Galano, or a royal specially minted coin. So they were all like cobs, but they did some coins where all the details were on there. Especially most of them had holes in it. This one had a hole in it. It's apparently very desirable by Spanish colonial collectors. So I wanted to have like one of them. This is a XF details because of the hole. There's one graded BF30 by NGC. So there actually is one graded. There's one genuine, but this is the one that's genuine from PCGS, and there might be 2 that are ungraded. So apparently, very rare and kind of, and when you look at it, they're neat to look at close up, but they're small coins. So that's it.
Thanks, Steve.
Okay.
Appreciate it. On the table there, so people can check it out at the break.
There's a provenance thing, so it's not
Gregg Bercovitz.
All right, real quick, I've got two things. I just brought in a couple of fractionals so guys can actually see them and what they look like. This is the Lincoln 50 cent, and the other one is
The guy with indigestion.
yeah, the guy with the indigestion. All right, I basically brought them in so you can actually see what they look like. Now I got a couple other things totally different. These are called railroad notes or railroad fare notes. And what these were, right after the Civil War, there was nothing left standing literally in the South except for one thing, and it was the railroads, because neither North or South wanted to destroy the railroads because of the war effort. So, and also, money was very scarce. People in the South had put a lot of money into the South currency. Money was scarce. People didn't have a lot of money. So these are what they call railroad fare notes or railroad currency. And basically, let me borrow this for a second.
Mhm.
Basically, what it is you look at it and it says, it has a big one on it. You think it's a $1 bill, but no, not really. It's this is good for the fare for one person traveling 25 miles on the South Carolina Railroad, and this is dated 1873. And it is the American Banknote Company. And when you look at it, check out the engraving, which that's why I'm a paper guy, is the engraving. If you look at the railroad note, the railroad engraving, if you have a magnifying glass, you can actually look. There is the engineer leaning out of the engine. And if you can actually, with a magnifying glass, you can see the expression on his face. It's absolutely incredible.
Wow.
And
It's like I have a reverse on that too.
and the reverse is a beautiful design. Let's show everybody.
Yeah,
else.
I mean, it's just got all kinds of stuff going
Yeah,
on there.
it's incredible. Once again, it's the American Banknote Company, and they did this as an anti-counterfeiting device.
They were just showing off here, weren't
Yes,
they? Yeah.
and the front really was more of an advertising note. Okay, that's from the South Carolina Railroad. Now here is the Charlotte, Columbia, and Augusta Railroad note, and once again, it has an incredible back, and once again, the engraving on the front is absolutely. Look at the detail of the engine. Look at the detail of the engraving, and once again, this is also. Let me borrow that for a second. Once again, this is good for one fare for one person for 20 miles. And the interesting thing about this is, if you think about it, the railroads actually could control, shall I say, finance, for lack of a better word, because it's good for one fare. So if they raise their fares, this note is worth more. If they lower their fares, this note is literally worth less. Bill,
We're going to go further than 20 miles.
you got to buy another one. And these were available in 1s and 5s that I know of. I don't know if there's, I don't recall right off the bat if there were larger than 5s. There you go.
Great. Thanks, Greg.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you. Bill, you're up next.
What this guy right here did was say, these things just have some,
You want to show?
yeah. For instance, the Secretary of War, notice the blue, if you click types,
Mm-hmm.
some have blue,
Summer, I have no idea what the difference is, but there's a difference.
More of a green color, maybe.
Don't know.
Fade and seal. The seal looks different.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Almost
yeah.
burnt red.
those are nice.
Here's, I've just got 3 or 4 of these. Look at that guy.
Yeah.
And this is a guy with a cold.
Mm-hmm. How long have you been collecting these?
Oh, these are, I collected them when I was 50 years ago.
Oh wow.
This one right here is 3 different 10-cent. It escapes me what the difference is, but clearly
Yeah, that has more color.
that's a difference. And oh yeah, the seal. No, there's a difference there
Mhm.
too.
Yeah, the seal's a lot darker.
There's a Bob Hope.
Bob Hope. It's cool to see all the different sizes like that too, like Greg was mentioning.
And this, there's some on the back, but
Oh,
These
are
are
some
some
of
of
the
the-
first issues.
yes.
Yeah.
And
They all take the postage stamps. Yeah.
I was fortunate in getting these 25, 30 years ago when they were next to nothing.
Well, very nice.
Here's some on the back. There's this one has a gold around it.
Mhm.
Anyways, the only thing I can add is that some have different, like blue on the edge,
Mhm.
and some don't. So that illustrates the differences. These are 3 different types if you're doing a type collection.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, great. Well, thank you for sharing those with us. Appreciate it. Scott McMahon.
So first thing you notice about this note, on all third-party grading companies, whether it's PCGS or PMG, normally in the upper right here has a grade of what the currency is. This is a little different because this depicts where this actual note came from, and it's called a wall of greed hoard. So bear with me. As the story goes, in 2006, a realtor in the business of house flipping purchased a home that was in need of remodeling before it could be sold, and she contracted an old school chum in the construction business to improve the eye appeal. While renovating the bathroom, the contractor discovered several bundles of old currency wrapped in pre-World War II Cleveland plain dealer newspaper with the name P. Dunn written on it. After the money was retrieved from the wall and inspected and counted, it came to $186,000, with an estimated numismatic value of approximately $500,000. Many of the bills were dated in the 1920s and were Cleveland Federal Reserve notes. Now the greed set in. Instead of splitting the money and going about their ways, the realtor offered the contractor a mere 10% of the find. And then to further stiff the contractor, she stopped returning his calls and ignored him. The contractor was forced to consult a lawyer, and then things really spun out of control. The first thing that was done was to find out more about the P. Dunn, and investigators found that he was a successful Cleveland businessman in the 1940s that previously had lived in the house. Upon his death in 1968, he left the estate to his sister-in-law, Agatha Gannon, without any mention of the hidden money. Agatha lived in the house until her death in 1974 and had no clue about the hidden treasure. She was unmarried at the time of her death and lived alone. She left her estate to 21 nieces and nephews. From here, the lawyers tracked down 7 living nieces and nephews and 50 other relatives that wanted to file a claim for a share of the proceeds. And the lawyers got busy. During this process, the realtor never relinquished the money. The case finally made it to court to determine who got the money. When asked about the money, the realtor explained it was stored at her mother's home in South Carolina, and all but $18,000 disappeared. So the arguing by the realtor that the money belonged to her because she owned the house, the arguing by the contractor that the money was his because he found it, and the arguing by the heirs that it belonged to them was just not a matter, it just didn't matter that much anymore. Almost all of it was gone, and no one seems to know where. or we're not talking. And it looks like the remainder of the wall of Greek currency would dwarf the expenses.
Wow.
Scott,
Thanks
do you
for sharing
know
that,
how many of these notes were left, or at least graded?
I don't. I got this a long time ago. I think
remember
back,
seeing it.
yeah,
I remember seeing it.
we did this at the old club, but I just thought it was interesting. I had never even heard of it or saw it.
I remember the story.
That's a good story.
There you go. Well agreed.
Thanks again, Scott. Matthew.
All right, so this is a coin of Croesus. I don't know how to pronounce it exactly, but it's a Lydian stater. It has like the depiction of a lion and a bull.
I have one.
You do? So maybe you could help me out with this then. But it's supposed to be like the oldest coin in the world or something like that. It isn't one of them, but it's like around 600 BC. He has one too.
Don't mix them up.
We got two of them.
So I'm not sure if it's real or not. That's the problem. But I bought it in a collection
Let's look at them side by side.
earlier. So I couldn't tell, and I like posted it on some coin forums too, and they couldn't see either. So I don't.
Well, this
know.
side they look the same. Definitely different details. I don't know, but all these dies were all hand done. They're gonna look different.
Yeah.
Might have to go to the ancient
Yeah.
coin club to.
Earlier coin,
Thanks, Matt.
the earliest
Make sure you give
coin-
Bill back his.
Oh yeah.
The earliest coin is made out of electrum, naturally occurring mixture of gold and silver.
Oh,
And in Lydia, there's a picture of the head of a lion beside something which is a wart in his nose with maybe the sunrise. Anyways, it's a small coin, 1/12 of the state. That's a really stuff.
yeah, well, thank you. Brian, you're up next. Thank you.
So every time I go to the mall, I check out the bookstore to see if they've got any coin books, and they finally came out a quarters book for the women's quarters series, American Women Quarters. So that started last year. Series is in its second year now. And the coins in this book that Mike's showing are out of circulation. I found 2 Philadelphia mints in circulation without traveling, so that's hard in this part of the country. The Denver mints were all pretty easy to find. My favorite in the series is the last one of last year, Anna Mae Wong, who I believe was a pretty locally famous person. I've talked to people who are like, yeah, I know who she was. But one thing I like about the series is I'm learning a lot about people that I've never heard of, and that's part of the reason why they got this series. It's like women just never seem to make the top of the list, including if you've noticed, the front of the quarter changed. The design that was on it for 90 years was the winning design in a competition. A woman named Fraser came in second, and 90 years later they put her design. So it's a nice set. And this book I put my proofs in. So
Oh, nice.
those are both silver and clad proofs, and the series is continuing for 3 more years, so there'll be 15 more women honored. The ones for this year have been announced. Say what the ones for last year were. I mentioned Anna Mae Wong. There was also Nina Otero Warren, Wilma Mankiller, Sally Ride, and Maya Angelou. This year we'll have Bessie Coleman, which is in circulation as of last week. And then upcoming is Jovita Idar, Edith Kanakole, Eleanor Roosevelt, and Maria Talchi.
Looking forward to that.
Well, thank you. And Don, did you have show and tell? No. I guess I get to do show and tell then. I have this here. This is a PCGS luncheon slab for the Set Registry Awards luncheon from August 16th, 2019. It's got an Illinois state coordinate and limited edition of only 300 of these. So when they have a big coin show like the ANA World's Fair of Money, and now they're doing them here at the Long Beach show, they give away their awards for the registry. When you go to their luncheon for that, they give you one of these when you get there, and they're pretty collectible. I got this one from a friend on YouTube who had one who got this, and I had one from Florida, a luncheon slab, and he's from Florida, and I'm originally from Illinois, so we did a nice little trade there. So anyway, pretty cool. They're fun to collect. So, thank you. What else to show and tell? What? Then we'll do Phil right after. Yep.
So I was poking around this evening trying to find one of my ancient things that Jeff has gotten me over the years. Instead, I ran across a box with some memorabilia from my dad. These are his two Army dog tags.
Wow.
And this is really cool. This is his ring. It says Iran, 1944. He was a sergeant stationed to help manage and protect the trans-Iranian, which was important in moving goods and supplies. And so I'd like to show that to you. And some coins that are really trashed, but nice and old. He liked silvers. One is 1902. And I really had to look at it with a magnifying glass in the light to see that date. And then 1923 and 1928.
Very nice. Well, thanks for sharing that.
Sure.
Great. And
The ring has a very interesting rendering of some kind of structure, a couple of domed structures and a tower. And someday I really should look into that and look into the history of that.
all right.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead and set them on the table. People
Okay.
can check it out during the break.
Right.
Whatever you want to look at.
All right.
Thank you very much. Phil, we got Phil coming up next. So Phil, right after Phil, we can get you to come back up. Sorry. Yeah.
I have something here that I was gonna bring on Monday for Purdue Hills Coin Club. It's late, but I'm a little bit too late. Unfortunately, it was folded, and I hope that fate won't be Glendale Coin Club to keep this club going. What I have is something from 1991. It was a job when I was one of the board members. It's a nice 1990 proof silver or proof dime. 1991, we had our love show at Shirley's Restaurant. If anybody can remember that. There's only a few people that are around that can probably remember that. But it was a good time. I remember there was a lot of displays at that particular show, as well as many other shows too. Eventually, we moved over to Van Nuys and had shows there. Also, 1991, I was nominated to be a member of the California State Numismatic Association as a board member. And also in August of 1991, I gave a presentation here in Exelunia. So we have this few things for you for these days, but we still have that.
Who got you to remember?
Remember you.
What?
Thanks. Appreciate it. Sorry. Phil, you had something else to share? You just dropped it on the floor. I just saw it. Okay.
This thing is what I don't know for sure, but is the only commemorative coin that Rome ever issued. It's a Judea capta You can read CAPTA on the back. That's Vespasian on it. It was AD 71. There's a Jewish maiden crying. Vespasian is there on the back of it. You can read CAPTA. That's Judea CAPTA. And it commemorates the sacking of Judea, of Jerusalem.
Wow. Very cool.
I have one other coin I can bring. It's one of my favorite. It's encapsulated with a CIC sticker on it. It's an 1838 O, half dime. And that, I think, was the first New Orleans Mint opened in 1838.
Yeah.
And I think this is the first type coin they made. Anyway.
That sounds about right.
And it's a Seating Liberty without the stars. And that's my favorite.
Well, maybe at another week, you can bring that and show us. That'd be great. Thanks, Bill. Anybody else have show and tell?
I just want to make a comment on the earlier when we were talking about the stamps replacing becoming currency because of the coins at the time, even though they had struck them, they were disappearing out of circulation.
Yeah.
It kind of relates to what happened in 64 with the silver being in 65 out of it.
Yeah.
Look how quickly the silver coins disappeared out of circulation, and that's something most of us care to do.
Yeah. Anytime people have two choices of money to use, you keep the better one and you use the other one.
Use the money
Exactly.
and good stuff out of circulation.
Absolutely. So if you had seen the copper coins that they were more valuable than stamps
Yeah, look at
or
coppers.
postage money. When you see people even sort Lincoln cents, they have machines that you go through, it spits out the copper versus the zinc, and they save those, and you can sell them on eBay for a profit.
There's still be
Or melt them illegally. But
all these electric vehicles, everything going electric in some
Yeah.
time in the future. It's going to take a lot of copper to accomplish that. So
I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't doubt
these young guys, like this guy kicking up,
it.
if he starts storing the copper now, it'll be okay.
All right, well, great. Anyone else have a show and tell? Dennis, come on up.
I brought in something as fractional currency. Most of the ones here are really dogs, but there are a couple good notes in here. And where these are really neat, they're uniface. You can see the back of the one and the front of the other. They're spinner notes and they're hand signed by Spinner.
Wow. Wow. Very cool. Thanks, Dennis. Very cool. All right. Well, thank you again. I don't know. Maybe. Anyone else at the hotel? That is it then. So we normally at this time would end the podcast and we'll go on to do our break and then have a auction and raffle afterwards. But before we do that, I just want to thank everybody that's been watching on YouTube, and of course thank everybody from here as well. Everyone will have a chance to get these. Gregg Bercovitz donated these for giveaways. This is a note here from. Did we decide where this was from? It's marked Bogota, Colombia, right in the middle. It's got to be. That's where it's from. And then there's the. I'm going to show the other side of that. It's the what did you call this eagle?
The Screaming Eagle.
The Screaming Eagle note. And then there's also this one from Venezuela. Really nice note. What's that on the reverse there? Bird? Nice. It's like a parrot or something, maybe. Wow. Okay. So he donated those, and additionally, the club has a few other prizes. We're not going to be getting these out tonight because we didn't have a meeting last month. We had our Christmas party. So the way you have a chance to win these is by once this gets posted as a video on YouTube. Right now it's live, and after we end it, it stays up as a video. You can go on there and leave a comment just saying, hey, great job with the presentation, or, thanks for everything you guys do and all this, and whatever you want to say. Something positive, hopefully, a nice comment. And then next meeting, we'll choose a winners of these items based on those comments. So make sure you guys go leave comments. We got one of these. It's a California quarter signed with a signed by the designer, Gregg Bercovitz. We got a cased Lincoln cent and then another cent that's carved into a cross or cut into a cross. This one was donated to the club by Dorian. We got presidential dollar, James Monroe, NC graded. We got the first 3 Susan B. Anthony dollars, 79 PD&S. And again, we'll give those out next meeting. So, and anybody else has anything else to say? Otherwise, we'll go ahead and take our break right now and go ahead and say goodbye to everybody watching at home. Thank you for being a part of our meeting, and we'll be here next month. I believe the date is February 10th. Will be our next meeting. It's second Friday of the month always. So thank you again. And now it's time for our break.